Welcome to ChampionsHeart. You can't play boxing. Featuring boxing addict Johnny Farace and friends from superfans to superstars. Let's roll.
Hey, boxing fans. Today I have a boxing legend with me on You Can't Play Boxing. Put your hands together for Alfonso Gomez.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I'm in the studio. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. Thank you for coming on my show, my man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a real pleasure to talk always with boxing personalities, and I'm always down for supporting the cause. You know.
So, champ, I always love a good underdog story, and you are one of the greatest underdog stories in the history of boxing. And you got your start right where many did, and that was from someone bullying you, and it put you into a boxing gym to learn how to defend yourself, correct?
I went to the United States when I was 10 years old, Mexico into United States, and I was bullied a lot in school because of the different nationalities, the different all that. So I got into boxing because of that, trying to learn how to defend myself. That's how it started. It starts as a self-defense class, and then slowly, you want to do an amateur fight? Sure. Slowly. I think I was 10 years old, my first amateur fight. I was 70 pounds I was supposed to fight. I couldn't make weight at 70. That was my first, this was my first experience as a boxer. I couldn't make 70 pounds. I was 70 and a half. So they had me going to put on a sauna suit and start spitting on a bucket. I was 10 years old. At 10 years old. And I went into the car and they turned the heater on. And I was just there sweating for a whole hour trying to make weights. I go back and I only lost a quarter of a pound. So I was still a quarter of a pound heavy. I go back and dude, that was my first experience as an amateur fighter not making weight.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. So as it goes, you know, you start doing that, you start winning fights, and then you want to do a tournament, sure. Silver gloves, all right. And that's how it goes. You start going to tournaments. And imagine this. Just imagine this. This is the 90s, right? The hottest fighter out right now in this era is CHAVEZ. Every weekend when he's going to fight, all the familia, the primos, the friends, we're all together. We're like, CHAVEZ is there. I'm the only fighter in the family at 9, 10 years old. Everybody, the tío, the tía, the aunt, todos, hey, you're going to be like CHAVEZ. Hey, Chav, you come here, punch me in the hands. So suddenly, what was just a self-defense class suddenly turns into your life, you know? Right. Now you're training every day. You have this commitment. You have these responsibilities and commitments to be training every day because now you have a dream to go to the Olympics. They put it in your head. You know, you always got to, like I say, you always got to think you're the champ, you know? So you always go to be the champ. I did about 90 to 100 amateur fights. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I won some tournaments. I won blue and gold and silver gloves, junior Olympics. I did a lot of those tournaments and but did 90 amateur fights. So it was pretty good experience.
Beautiful experience. And you ended up on the Mexican Olympic team. You fought at one of the qualifiers.
Yeah, I went to the Mexican team, and I'm not gonna tell you the whole story because it's a long, beautiful story, which one day I'm sure I'll tell you. But basically, I got cheated out, and I got depressed. So I was like, fuck this shit. You know, fuck boxing. I don't like this. It's always politics. Always happens. And somebody else went for me, and so I got depressed, and I retired from boxing for a year after that. And I gained 50 pounds.
Yeah. Not hard to do after having to make weight since you're 9 years old.
You know, after living pretty much 10 years of my life as healthy as possible, the training, the running, the commitments, then retiring for a year, trying to do something else. I did it for a year. They cheated me out. I'm done. I started working regular, whatever it was, telemarketing. I can remember. So I gained a lot of weight, and I just hated how it felt. I remember how it felt before, so much energy, so alive, with hope and looking forward to something. It's like such a beautiful life when you have a goal and you're working towards it. And then suddenly you're like, I was so heavy. I was so lazy. I wouldn't work out. I was in this job, calling people, sitting down all day long. There was no real dream. So suddenly life feels like how you feels. And I like the feeling. So I told my dad, you know what? I want to come back to boxing again, but I want to go pro. You better than anybody knows, the boxers have the secret to losing weight quick, because we have to.
Yes,
we found the way, baby.
Yeah, it is, and it's a mental thing too. You push it right through the end, and you mentally know you're going to get to where you need to go to, and that's where you get there.
Well, it's hard. It's very hard to make weight, but ultimately, if you're going to listen to somebody how to lose weight, please, guys, listen to a boxer.
Yes.
Our livelihood, our children's food depends on us making weight. Yeah. So you're damn right we know how to make weight. Yeah, and this is hopefully okay. This next segment we're gonna talk about, which is part of that. Also, I'm gonna tie in to a lesson for fighters out there listening to this. All right. I don't know
how attention, you guys. Hey, pay attention, you guys. Okay. All right, champ. Go ahead.
Please pay attention. School is in session. Okay, so there's a mentality of most boxers. At least it was in my era. We want to go to the Olympics, so the top rank, Don King or Golden Boy notices us, signs us, gives us a bonus, takes care of us, and we protect it. We're on the A side, and in a few years, we're going to be champions. That's basically how the system moves. So we got all these fighters wanting to go to the Olympics or trying to get signed, trying to prove something, right? I tried that. I didn't go to Olympics, but I still wanted to go pro. If you don't go to the Olympics in this era, at least back then, you guys are lucky now. Listen, guys, you guys are fucking lucky. Back then, you had to go to the Olympics to have enough popularity to get signed by a promotional company. So for me, that's what happened. I didn't go to Olympics. Therefore, my first 10 fights were against undefeated fighters I was supposed to lose. Literally what I did at the gym was, guys, I'm ready to go pro. Who knows how I can go pro? And in every gym, there's this manager that likes to feed off people, likes to feed off fighters, works for the promotional company to bring the B-sides. So when I said, anybody know where I can get a fight? I need a fight. This guy's like, right here, I got you, right? And he brought me in my first fight in Indio, California, against a local fighter. He was 4 wins and 1 loss. He was on the A side. I was my pro debut. I was on the B side, going there to lose. He drops me on the first round, and I still win.
Man, you set the tone for the rest of your career right there.
No, yeah, and not only that, I'm telling you, this guy kept feeding off me. My second fight, the same thing, I got a tough fighter. I beat him. My third fight, I got another good fight for you. He tells me, it's this white kid who has 3 wins and 3 losses. You better sign here. His name is Ishay Smith, and I signed. When I go to the promotional company, this guy doesn't make weight. He's much bigger than me. I mean, we're fighting at 140. He's 147. So I have to go up in weight. This guy's not white. He's a big black man. He looks scary, right? He's not a loser. He's undefeated, all by KO. Yeah. Like, oh crap! Yeah. So he beats me by split decision. His hometown. They take a point away from me. Like it was brutal. And there's my first loss against obviously. And that was my first 12 fights. Look at my record, guys. My first 12 fights were like this. they started me dubbing me the executioner of the undefeated, because I always came.
Executioner of the undefeated. I love that, man. You came to spoil stuff.
Oh yeah, so the local newspaper started naming me that. When I went to the Contender and I picked up Peter Manfredo, I knew this wasn't my first rodeo.
Right.
It wasn't the first time I was gonna fight against an A-side, against an undefeated fighter.
And you jumped into that first fight too, because in of that series, you weren't supposed to fight the very first fight. The very first fight was supposed to be Joey Gilbert.
No, what happened is that he was the least experienced. He's a lawyer, right? He's not really a boxer. He's a lawyer who knows how to market himself well. So when he surrounded himself with like real fighters, he wasn't too happy about that. Yet he needed this type of marketing for his business, which helped him a lot. Awesome, beautiful marketing tactic. And this guy got balls, because he was 7 fights. He didn't have any amateur background. No, he was just very good at marketing. He got good people to get him in the show. I mean, everything was perfect.
Right.
But now he has to fight real fighters, and I commend him because he actually went toe to toe with real fighters. He did fantastic. He is very athletic, very strong, very big guy. And dude, at the end of the day, he has big balls to do something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so he was gonna fight first, and when I realized that I had the opportunity of my lifetime to fight this undefeated fighter and beat him, I decided to jump on it. And then because he didn't want to fight, obviously, he's like, go ahead, dude. You take it, baby. Yeah. You take it home, boy. You know?
When you first came onto that show, when you came on, you were undersized, you were an alternate. I don't even think you even had a full-time spot. You're like an alternate, and you came in, you took that first fight, instant fan right there. The underdog.
Yes. That's how it was. And you know what? You know I was an alternate. That's amazing. That's an incredible story. Because I'll tell you this story and I'll tie it to the Olympics, right? When they cheated me out of the Olympics, right? As soon as we were coming down, when they gave the other guy the final decision to go to Olympics, even though I beat him and I was so sure, I was coming down. The commissioner of the Mexican committee says, hey, the guy you fought, Sertuche is his name. He can make weight. He didn't make weight when I fought him. You know how it's in Mexico? They didn't even show his weight, and they say he weighed the weight, but he didn't. So they said, hey, Sertuche can make weight. So it's very probable that we're going to move him up, in the division, and then we're going to call you to replace him in the Olympics. And I'm like, fuck you, hell no. I was so mad, so disappointed that I told you I retired. Guess what happened 2 weeks before the Olympics? I get a call from the Mexican committee, and they're like, hey, Sertuche really can't make weight. So we kicked out the guy that was was supposed to go, and we moved Sertuche there, and you get to come in now, Dude, for 2 weeks, I ran as much as I could. I ate as little as I could, and I just tried so bad to be in shape for an incredible opportunity, like really going to the Olympics, right? Yeah. I don't know if they do that still, but before my era, all you had to do was win your country and you would go to Olympics. But for some reason, when the 2000 Olympics, they wanted to do continents. Only 5 people from that weight in each continent can go. So, okay, so now I'm finally in the Mexican team because Sertuche goes up in weight. And I go into the qualifiers and I lose the first fight. Dude, I'm so out of shape. I just suck. I get knocked out, actually. I've never been knocked out, and I do. And I lose that opportunity. Fast forward 5 years or whatever it is, the Contender, when they tell me you're not in the Contender, but get ready because one of the guys might come out and then we're going to call you. I swear to you, that moment, I heard like a, I said, dude, this sounds awfully familiar. Familiar. Yeah. Honestly, it sounded so familiar that I was sure I was going to get called. Like I felt like God was telling me, remember that time? I purposely called main events. Back then, main events was huge. You had Arshak, was one of the Armenian fighters was coming up. I remember calling them and say, hey, this is Alfonso Gomez. They call me the executor of the Faraće Smith. And they're like, yeah, we know who you are because they've been wanting to fight with me. They've been wanting to fight Arshak with me. And I say, I want to fight him. I want to fight him. Are you sure? I want to fight him. So I purposely set a fight with Arshak, you know, so I can train for this fight with Arshak in my mind. And I was training very hard. I was going to fight Arshak. And literally a week before the Contender, I get a call. And they said, hey, we're from the Contenders. Are you ready? And I said, you're damn right.
I'm in Arshak shape. Yeah, baby.
So when I went to the Contender, I was, when they called me, I was in tip-top shape to fight, right? So this was my opportunity. Suddenly, I see this guy. Everybody's like, oh, Peter Manfredo, he's the best, he's undefeated, 3 in the world. And let me tell you something about fighting 13 times before against undefeated fighters, the A side. As a B side, you start to learn your environment. You start to learn your praise. You know, you start to learn about the A side, the A fighters, their thinking, their mentality. And you come to realize that this ego starts to grow. That the me, that the undefeated, that the I'm invincible, it starts to dominate them at one point. And I learned that through my experience fighting undefeated fighters, that they get this ego that starts to evolve in their head, especially when they get fed. So now you see Peter, in my mind, I'm like seeing Peter Manfredo through 23-0 against not really big opposition, you know. I see that he's weighing 10, 15 pounds over the limit, you know. I'm the baddest here. Nobody's going to pick me. Nothing. And one day before we do a challenge, right, we're doing the log of the Hollywood Hills. Right, everybody. Right, I'm pretty exhausted. Right. I mean, it's one day before. I'm pretty exhausted, like anybody who would do that. Right. But Peter was like, So, dude, I'm very mathematical. I'm very analytical. So suddenly the math in my brain, like, suddenly it gave me a formula and gave me an equation that said victory. Once I measured everything I learned fighting undefeated fighters, their ego growing, once I know how they behave in the ring, once they feel the pressure and they feel like, oh shit, this is a new experience for me. I know how they behave. I've been doing this for like the last 2 years, 13 fights. And now this is the opportunity. I'm in tip-top shape because I purposely did it. This guy thinks he's so big, he's so special. This show, they told him, this show is for you. Stallone wanted him. Stallone wanted so bad to have his real life version of himself. Right. Because he knows there's money there. Having a white Rocky in real life, there's money, right? So they're pushing so bad for this guy that when I measure the equation of how good I was in shape, my experience, who this guy was, his experience, I just knew this was me. So when I say I can beat him, guys, and they're like, no, he's good in the locker room. If you go back and look at the scene, guys, there's this scene where everybody's like, no. Ishe Smith's like, yes, because he didn't want to go. Hey, Joey Gilbert's like, yes, because he didn't want to go. The other more tactical guys were like, no, dude, we won the choice. Why are we going to put a weakest fighter against their best? It doesn't make sense. Right. And you can tell in my eyes, look at the scene. I said, I can beat him. I just know I can beat him. I didn't know how to express it before. I was too immature. I didn't understand my mechanism then. But now I know. Now I can see it, and I know about it, that I'm able to formulate in my head certain outcomes. And look, it happens. So that's why I was so sure to beat him. And it was one of the best moves I made in my life. It really exploded my name internationally. It gave me that credibility as a Mexican fighter who doesn't quit. Right? So we go back to that lesson that I wanted to teach your audience, because school is in session. Honestly, my friend, every time I'm doing an interview, I always take the opportunity to enlighten fighters out there and to enlighten people into the doors that have opened in my mind, that have allowed me to be much happier much more in control of my life, and basically to see life in a different perspective. That ultimately, your perspective of life is what creates your life. So when you have the best perspective, guess what? You have the best life. So one of the things, like you say, you don't have to be 17-0. You don't have to be signed by anybody, because, like I said, that was my era. I had to go to the Olympics to have a chance to get signed and to have a chance to be on good, big networks. You guys today are so freaking lucky that all you need to do is grow your social media, and then you have power, guys.
You can be your own promoter.
See it. Yes, and I learned this a hard way. Not the hard way, obviously the hard way. Before I was in the Contender, before that one fight with Peter, guys, that one day before, that 1 minute before, I was the same fighter as I was the minute after. I had exactly the same talents. Maybe slightly more, because you learn a lot in every fight, right? I'm not going to say it was the same, but it wasn't to the magnification of the value that I suddenly had, right? My knowledge, my style, my talent did not change that drastically, as much as my popularity, as much as my value, right? So that already tells you guys fighting out there, yes, train hard, lose the weight, get the rounds in, get the technique in. It's important. However, it is not everything. It is not your talent, the one that gets you paid, my friends. It is how many people you can get to go see you. It is how many people know you, how many people follow you, the one that does your talent. And I'll give you an example outside of boxing, all right, guys? Let's say there's this guy who wants to be a surgeon, and he goes to Harvard and the Ivy Leagues, spends all this money, and this amazing guy, right? Straight A guy, puts his office in Beverly Hills, right? Yet his office is rarely full, because he relies on the fact that he has a Harvard University diploma. He relies on that on his talent for people to go see him. This other guy who grew up in a community college, right? He still did his courses, online courses. He got his license to do surgery. However, this guy spends his hard-earned money in putting a big billboard that says, "The best surgeon in town, call me now." Spends his money in the marketing, in the newspapers, right? The other guy spent the money in the diploma. This guy is spending his money in the marketing. His office is full. You tell me who has more value, guys. The guy who has his office in Beverly Hills that can barely get people in there, or the guy that has his office full because he knows the right marketing. Same thing in boxing, guys. Your talent is not your value. It is how many people you're gonna go see you, how many people purchase your merchandise, get the pay-per-view, how many people tune in to see your fight. That's your value. So from now on, you have to divide yourself in two, the athlete and the businessman. There's no other choice. Before there was, now there isn't. Please dedicate half your time to be the best fighter you can be, and dedicate another portion of your time to being the best businessman you can be. Grow your social media. Communicate with communicate with your community. Grow your communities. Call Johnny. Say, "Hey Johnny, I want to do an interview. I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Texas. I need exposure. I'm hungry, and I know that. Please give me an interview." And he'll interview you. Reach out to all the podcasts. Swear to God, Google Instagram boxing podcasts. You're gonna have thousands of them. Write them all. Grow your numbers. Dedicate time to this. Because you saw it with YouTubers. They headline a card above all of you. These guys who've only been training for 2-3 months, they were above you, and you've been this all your life. How does that make you feel? If it makes you feel angry, don't complain. Do something about it. And what is this? Do something about it. Take a note from them. Respect their hustle enough to be like, "Oh, this is what they did." Don't hate on their hustle. Respect their hustle. Be like, "This is what they did. This is why they're above me." Now imagine if you had those numbers and if you had that talent, Man, the future is unprecedented for you. So please, guys, dedicate time to growing social media. That's the number one advice I have to give you, because my talent didn't change from one day to another. It was a popularity that got me there.
I gotta tell you, all you fighters, aspiring boxers out there, rewind it. Rewind to the beginning. Listen to that again, because he just gave you the gold. The gold, man. And that was hard-earned shit right there, too. That wasn't something that he just picked out of the book. That's something that he earned, picked up along the way, blood, sweat, and tears and beyond.
Thank you for that, Johnny. Thank you, because it did take a lot of sweat, tears. Not only that, I had to go through a real deep, downslope in my life after my divorce, lose everything, money, house, family. And I haven't I talked to you about this story once in a while, but it is a blessing, because it is then that I found the awakening, that I was able to wake up into the reality of why at least makes me happy. And what makes me happy is being able to express all the knowledge that God, boxing, experience, life has given me in so 40 years, basically, almost. So now I can dedicate him to helping you, especially when it comes to fitness, health, mentality, motivation, all that stuff.
And one of my favorite sayings is, "We are truly defined through adversity." And the things that you've worked through your career, Ben Tacky, a broken hand. You fought most of the fight with a broken hand and won.
And then I had to fight Miguel Cotto with a broken hand.
I was about to go right into that. Yeah, let's talk about. Yeah. Look, I just want to talk real quick, because the normal person cannot fucking understand really about what we're about to talk about, right? First of all, anybody just to even get in the ring is one thing, to put it to the level where you are, but to sit in there for a title fight and you break your hand. There's no other sport in the world that you have to keep going. Every other sport, you could quit, you could tap out, you could take a kneel, you could lay down, you could flop, you could do everything else. You not only did that, but that was one of your weapons, and you fought through. Talk a little bit about that, like right when you knew the hand broke, and then what you had to mentally go through for those next, 5 rounds.
Well, I already knew at one point I had the possibility of fighting Miguel Cotto, because the idea when I fought Arturo Gatti was that after Gatti beats me, he was going to fight Miguel Cotto. And that would have been a major East Coast Madison Square Garden event. We all know that. Yep. Even me thinking about it, I'm salivating. Sounds like a very interesting fight. Cotto against Gatti? Come on.
Man. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I kind of spoiled those plans, right? So when I broke my hand when I beat Gatti, I thought, oh shit, I'm gonna fight Cotto now. But they didn't see the value, in me. They saw the value in Gatti because who he was, but they didn't see the value in me. So they opted not to give me the title a chance. They went somewhere else. So I had to fight one of the top 10, which was Ben Tacky, was one of the top 10, so I can keep my ranking. And I broke my hand in the second round. I finished the fight. And one of the thoughts in my head was, I know they're going to call me now. I know they're going to call me. Because like I said, I like to see, I'm able to foresee things based on formulas that I see, on numbers and things. I've always seen life as mathematics. So every time I express myself, if you don't understand me, I'm sorry, but I always try to put it down to words so you can understand it when it comes to math. So when I see this happening, first that I was in line to fight Cotto before, that Gatti was going to fight him. Then I beat him. I'm still ranked. I break my hand. Now they see, I believe, that was like, dude, now they're going to see a good chance to fight Alfonso Gomez, the guy who beat Gatti, but injured, And boom, they give me the chance. They call me for the title. Yeah. Another lesson, another lesson, guys. How to separate the businessman from the boxer, because a lot of you have the mentality that I'm just a boxer, I'm just an athlete. I'll have my managers handle the business. Maybe back in 1940, 1970, you're right. We're in 2020, homie. It don't work like that no more, right? So you have to be the businessman and the boxer. Now, this is how you differentiate in this scenario. When they told me that I had to fight him and I had a broken hand, the fighter, the athlete, didn't want to lose. No, I don't want to lose. I'm a boxer. I'm an ego. No, I don't want to lose. I mean, I want to be able to be 100%. So I said, no. You know, obviously the family supported me. No, mijo, you're going to get hurt. Miguel Cotto's a monster. I mean, this ain't no joke. These are punches. You have to be 100%. My manager, who loves me, he was a different manager from the beginning. The first one, he's a shit, dude. He's a lacra. He's the one that beats out the fighters. Oh, and I'll tell you a story with him later. So boxers can beware too. But going back to this story, this manager after the Contender, his name is Gary Gittleson. I love him to death. He loved me so much that he wouldn't allow me to fight if there was any danger. But he said, Alfonso, it took you 30 years to get here. Think about it. You know, I know your hand is hurt and broken. Behind you, there's a long, long line of people that are hungry, that are willing, even with two broken hands, you know? And he says, I will do anything you want because you're the boss. You know, he always tried to make me think like a boss, like a businessman. He said, I'll do anything you want because I love you. But I'm trying to tell you right now, one, you're gonna miss a chance out of what was it, like 500 grand, you know, at the time they're gonna give you $500,000. It'll come easy. You know, it took you 30 years to get here. Two, if you lose against a champion, you lose against a champion. That's not a loss, you know. Just climb down. If you do not accept the fight, you're gonna go back to the back of the line, you know, because you declined it. Not like you lost, you declined it. You know, and I'm telling you like a businessman, if you do not accept this fight, it's not gonna be good. So I was like, fuck, all right, I'll take it, you know, take it. And I thank him now because many years later, I can now say, even though I didn't win and I lost a fight, I can now say I'm a two-time world title challenger against two of the best fighters in boxing history, Canelo and Miguel Cotto.
Two Hall of Famers, absolutely.
Now it sounds nice, but back then, the guys, listen to the athlete, the athlete was like, no, I don't want to lose. I'm a boxer. I'm a winner. I'm a warrior, right? And I'll fight him, whatever. But the businessmen say, go for it, you know? You're a warrior. If you lose against a champion. And I did lose. It was a horrible training. It wasn't good at all. No sparring, broken hand. To the point that the day of the fight, they had to inject cortisone. My finger was like that. I had so much scar tissue.
Your left hand?
So they can bend, my left hand. So they can bend my finger. Anyway, sucky fight. I lose it. Whatever. So, but like I said, there's a lesson for everybody that think of a businessman. If I would have thought like a businessman back then, I would have used that opportunity that I want to fight someone so big to get bigger sponsorships, to generate better associations, just better things, you know, utilize that momentum for my business mentality. But I didn't. I was an athlete. I thought like an athlete. And when I lost, I cried like a little athlete. Rather than being like a businessman, you know, oh shit, now we have all this popularity. Look at the numbers on the website. They fucking went 10 times. Let's make like, you know, right. So guys, take my loss, learn the lesson. Always think like a businessman. Even if you lose, look at the numbers. If they go up, it's always a good thing.
You actually ended the career of another one of my idols, which was Arturo Gatti. That fight you had with him, of course, with no disrespect to yourself, I was I'm a huge fan of Gatti. And again, I was already a fan of you coming up. I'm a fan of everybody. I'm not a dis-fan of anybody. And you put it on him on that fight. What did you seem like? Because you were landing your overhand right, like just like money. And
yes, it was an amazing fight. I grew up idolizing Gatti in CHAVEZ. Those were the blood and gut warrior fighters in that era that I grew up. I remember in this, small apartment when I was younger. I used to sleep in the same room with my brothers. We had like bunk beds. We were watching the Arturo Gatti against Mickey Ward fight. Oh man, that's when like, oh, this guy is so badass. We as kids, imagine. So I grew up watching him. I grew up all his fights, idolizing him. And then, I got the chance. They called me, you want to fight him? It was an amazing moment to actually fight your legend. And I know for a fact this is something not many people get to live. They do idolize other people, but actually to go to the road where you actually fight him, that's quite an incredible experience. And I was able to live it. So, dude, I couldn't be more gracious. Beating him also was sort of a sweet and sour victory. One, because, I beat my idol, and I didn't only beat him, I beat him brutally. It was a bad knockout, and a cut on his lip. It was really bad. It was so bad that he pretty much retired, And, but for me, the victory and everything that happened was amazing. The opportunities that came afterward. For me, pivoting points in my career as a boxer were obviously the Contender and beating Gatti. Those were the two biggest pivoting points in my boxing career. That each one gave me that big jump into the bigger lights of the sport. So going back to the Gatti thing, and this is another lesson for fighters in terms of mathematics of how people move. The reason I was getting Gatti with those right hands so much was because I realized that boxers usually move at two tempos. They're constantly going back and forth when they're moving. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And when I was able to read that, when I was able to realize those patterns a boxer had, they're like, it's a regular move. I mean, everybody does them. Can't hate them. That's why I really like fighters that suddenly, when they're moving, they stand still. Those motherfuckers are unpredictable because you can't measure the movements anymore. So when I saw Gatti, because I would look at his fights, I realized that every time he would come forward, he would drop his left hand. It was his style. And most people don't realize this. For some reason, most people are like going like back and forth. They're dancing. They're like this. If I can put it like down, 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 down. They're dancing like that usually.
Right.
For some reason. So I purposely, when I read their movement, I purposely punch when they're coming forward on the forward movement. Because they don't expect it. They expect me to punch them on my forward movement, not on their forward movement. Because their forward movement, usually the attack, is my back movement on this little dance that we're doing. So when I see those things, a fighter moving in this pattern, I purposely disrupt that dance by punching him when he doesn't expect it, when it's in his forward movement. So I was able to get Gatti like that. So guys, if you understood this, bravo, put it to practice. Look at how all the boxers are always dancing like this. Dun, 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 dun. Notice how they're moving like this. Notice how when they're always attacking on the forward and they're always defending on the back movement of this dance. So if you're able to see this and read this, you can punch him on their forward movement and really disrupt the pattern and disrupt his sequence. And if you start doing this because they're not used to it, they'll start to doubt themselves. And let me tell you something about doubt, my friends. It's a motherfucker.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So was that a lead right hand that you threw every time he came forward? You throw your lead backhand?
Yeah, the lead right hand. It's the lead right hand that wants to come in. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good idea. Yeah.
Crashed our idol. You kind of like a Mexican Gatti a little bit. You kind of have a little bit of that style.
Yeah, I mean, the blood and guts water is not something that I wanted to do. It's just something that happens. And I didn't know it was, I didn't know I had that style, that's attractive style until I retired. Now I look back at my fights, like, I mean, let's fast forward to Shawn Porter. I mean, I looked at that fight the other day and I was like, damn.
Yeah, I watched that last night and I was like, I watched that fight last night and I was like, so now I look at your candidate.
You know what I'm saying? Like back then when I would fight and people would tell me, dude, that was a badass fight. to me, it was normal. That was just the way I fight. I didn't feel any more special, any less, or anything. I just like, yeah, whatever. But now that I retired, I've been out boxing for a bit. I look back and I look at the fights, and I think to myself, holy moly, I was a very exciting fighter. I mean, damn, those are sick-ass fights.
In the sense of boxing, I love you, man. I loved watching you fight every time, man. Just because you put it all, you're always the underdog. You always stepped up. You never took a step backwards, man. Loved it. I love the way you fight. So yeah, I guess, yeah, backing up, Cotto, you fought him with the broken hand. Tell me about, standing, you had mentioned, standing across the ring from Gatti, who was your idol. As they're announcing the ring, now you're in here with Cotto, who's a huge name at the time, right? And everybody's darling or whatever at the time. So tell me about that experience and that fight, knowing you have a broken hand, you have one hand.
Right. Well, basically, I just went hopeful, that I was going to be able to do a good performance. I was sure I was going to do a performance. I mean, I did the few sparrings that I did. I was in good stamina. I was running my miles. I still get some distance and movement.
Right.
So I was still hopeful. But it is until you're up there with an elite fighter who is in tip-top shape, who is precise with his punches, who's one of the best in the world, and you coming in like shit, that you realize that there is no hope. I swear to you, every punch that he landed was just so precise. I was so weak that every punch that he landed, he dropped me first round. He drops me the second round. He drops me the third round. And it doesn't even look like he's trying. He's just, regular old Cotto, very
nonchalant. Yeah,
I just couldn't do shit. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't punch. Couldn't do anything. Anyway, he beat me, and it sucked. But at the end of the day, the experience there is that my if I could go back, I would have taken the fight, would have gone through it, but I wouldn't utilize the businessman inside of me who was sleeping, to take over and be like, all right, athlete, you ain't gonna do shit this fight. It's already a fact, all right? So let's not worry about that. Let's not get depressed, none of that. We already know you messed up. Let's get money out of this. If we're gonna get 500,000, let's get another 500,000 somewhere or another. One way or another.
The first time in your career, you actually took the B-side mentality.
The B-side mentality, the business mentality. Maybe that's why it's called the B-side for business.
There you go. Right.
And the A for athlete. Oh.
Hey, you're figuring it out. There we go. All right, we just changed the world. That's awesome, man. I like that. That's good stuff. Champ. So all right, man, you came out of that fight. Man, you healed. You took a year off. You got back in it. Took a couple other fights and put yourself in position to face. Was it Jesus Soto Caras, a portion of the
WBC Continental one? Yeah,
right,
Soto Caras.
Yeah,
that was a big event because that was on the undercard of Pacquiao
and Cotto,
against Cotto. Oh, that was a sick, great fight. Yeah. Great. And then fought Soto Caras for the title portion of the WBC. And yeah, man, I'm telling you, dude, I posted a video. I want to invite everybody to follow me at El Gomez Boxing. On my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all those good things. The hardest fighters I've ever fought are not the ones that have made it, are the ones that want to make it. So Soto Caras was one of those fighters that are tough as nails. They're very tough fighters. And that was a very tough fight. He hit very hard. I didn't like the way he hit. And I had to use my strategy in that fight. I had to box. I had to move. He cut me. So I had to play that role that I just couldn't see anything. I had to take the victory one way or another, and that's where the business comes in. Honestly, at this point, it comes a point where I don't have to prove anything. Throughout my whole career, I've proved that I got balls, that I'll face anybody at any time, at any place. I'll fight with broken hands. I'll fight heavier guys, 2 divisions. I don't care. I'll fight undefeated. I'll fight B-side. I'll fight. If you lie to me, I don't care. I'll fight anybody.
The seaside, I'll do whatever. Yeah, you checked everyone.
But it comes a point where it'd be like, all right, I gotta be smart about this, you know, and I gotta play the role of a businessman because here comes something bigger, you know, afterwards, after this. So yeah, with Caraz, I was able to beat him with smarts more than boxing because he is a very tough fighter. If I would have gone toe to toe with him, I don't think I would have lasted the whole fight. So I had to boxing, I had to move. I had the cut was bothering me. I had to play with the whole cut. It's bothering me until they stopped the fight. I got cut in the first round, you know, and I went up to 6 rounds until they stopped it.
A punch or a headbutt?
Headbutts.
Right,
yeah, headbutts. Usually, yeah, man. I got one here, one here. I got 4 headbutts.
Yeah. And, whose names are on those scars? You got Caraz is on one, right?
Caraz is on one. Then Buendia is on another one.
Okay.
Then in my second fight, Roman was on another one. And then Peter Manfredo is another one.
He's got one too. Okay. All right. Those guys own some property. Okay. I got you.
I like that. They own some property.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because we all know, well, we all don't, but we do. We know. Then each time you go in there, you leave your little bit of yourself behind. You know what I mean? It's a tough sport to run through, and you and huge career. Love the career. So. So, all right, man. You fought Caraz.
I beat him with smarts, and right away I fight another legend. Yeah. The only man to have known to beat Mayweather.
Yes.
Jose Luis Castillo.
Yes.
And dude, that was another great experience because, you know, another legend I retired, which was Jose Luis Castillo, another Mexican warrior. And not only did I beat him and retire him, I mean, that's cool that I got 2 legends in my resume. How does that happen? I'm just so blessed. But I fight him in the undercard of Manny Pacquiao again. Not only do I fight in the undercard of Manny Pacquiao, it was at the brand new Cowboy Stadium with a 50-foot Megatron that fitted in 65,000 people. It's less when it's so big and so many lights that where they're doing it now, it seems so entertaining with a lot of lights and a lot of noise and a lot of glam.
Yep.
It doesn't seem it doesn't seem as nervous as when it's dark and, you know, no light, and it's just more like intimate with the other fighters. It seems more nervous. When it's so big and so like that, to me, it doesn't get me nervous. It's more like a dream. It's awesome. I love it. It's like a dream that you're able to play this role, because for some reason I get out of myself, you know, when I'm in those fights. Right now I'm talking to you and I feel like myself. I don't feel any detachment from myself at all. I'm just talking to you regular. But every time that I fought, for some reason I detached myself from the person, and suddenly I wasn't nervous because I wasn't myself. It wasn't my body. It wasn't me. It was just an experience that I wanted to live, and I was so excited. Once I detached myself, it was no more fear, because what am I fearful for? It's not me. It was more about the experience that I'm going to live through the eyes of this individual. And I loved it. I enjoyed every fight with that perspective. It's like you going into my eyes and not feeling the pain, not feeling the fear, because it's not you. What are you fearful for? Yet living the experience of being there, seeing the guy real close to you, like boom,
Castillo,
that light right here. When you fall and you see the light like this, and like, oh shit, living it like that. For fighters out there, if you're able to separate yourself like that, and you live it like that, you enjoy it so much more, and you're able to excel so much more, because the worry, the fear, they're put to the side, and the love, the excitement, the joy, the experience are put in the forefront, which allowed you to do more than you would have if you were in the other scenario.
Oh man, we're giving you a lot of gold today, guys. Make sure you're paying attention. Camp's giving you some gold. Another fight, and then you got a fight with young Saul Alvarez, better known as Canelo.
Another big name.
Another big name, man. Here we go. You're like, sure, I'll fight him.
Good fight.
I'll fight him.
Yeah,
Sure.
good fight. That was a good fight, and it was a great event. Another great experience, especially when you separate yourself. Amazing. And but yeah, another fighter who's good. And in my opinion, this is one of those fights that politics took over, and I fed too much into my own idea of politics that I let it run. So it's what happens. I felt like I was doing an excellent job in the fight. I think I was taking it to him.
Yeah.
I remember going down, looking at the scorecard of the judges. I was winning the fight when they stopped it. And then they, out of the blue, some one punch, two punch, and they stop it immediately.
Yep.
And that is politics speaking, obviously. So when it happened, I kind of took this attitude that, I knew it was going to happen, because I kept talking about it during the interviews. I kept mentioning it, the politics. Hopefully the politics don't take it away. And when they did, I kind of did this, and maybe what I should have done was like, fuck that, hell no, dude, let's do it, let's keep going. So I kind of accepted it, I kind of accepted the fact that the system is what it is, rather than play with the system. And even though they weren't going to give me the fight again, rather than nothing, at least play the game of the system and play the antagonist, right? Be like, no, this, you thieves, and get more popularity out of it, maybe get another bigger fight out of it, who knows? But the fact is that I played too much into the politics myself, that it kind of hurt me at the end in terms of accepting it, even though the odds of me beating someone like Canelo were very minimal, and it showed that the first opportunity they got, they stopped it. Especially when one fight before that is Eric Morales against Pablo Cesar Cano. And these guys they're both cut up, they're bloody, they're brutally going against each other, and the referee is just there watching the fight. They're like, oh my God, we have a brutal fight before this. They're bloody, they're going to the slaughterhouse, literally. Right? So when you have this fight previous to mine, they're going to the slaughterhouse, knocking each other down, breaking each other's face. And then you have my fight, and they stop it from one little punch. It's quite infuriating and quite obvious what was going on, too. Right. And, yeah, sucks, but it is what it is. I got my payday. I got my popularity. Yeah. And, yeah. Listen for the fighters. Whenever you fight a champion, guys, doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's always a win. The amount of people that get to know you, the amount of exposure you get, if you're savvy enough, the associations that you're gonna start doing based on the sole fact that you're fighting a world champion. I mean, look at all the benefits of fighting a world champion, win or lose. So an idea of fighting a champion, you should always take that fight. Sometimes family, fear, your own doubt, your own ego might want to get in the way of saying, no, maybe next time, or no, this, I need more money, whatever it is. Those opportunities don't come all the way, all the time, especially if you grew up on the B side, So take the fight, utilize everything to your favor. And if you are the Andy Reese of your era, come on, baby. It's all you then.
Speak a little bit to your thoughts on how he mishandled his representation as a heavyweight champion.
I don't know. We all know that the second fight he came in, I mean, it was obvious that he didn't come in prepared as he should have. And I mean, there's no one to blame by himself. People say, oh, his management and this and that. But right now I understand that when boxing first started, back in 1920s, whatever, like early 1900s, I understand that the boxers didn't know anything. They needed to depend on a scholar that would get him the big fights, the big names. That was back then. Nowadays, I mean, information is at the reach of our hands. Everything's there. So when somebody blames management or team for Andy Reese, demise or lack of whatever it is, growth. I think it all falls down on him. Mainly I think he just fed on all the beautiful things that were happening to him.
Right.
When you win the lot, he got caught up in the lamplight and the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Everything that was happening to him.
The silk sheets, as they say, he's sleeping in silk sheets. He let it get to him, and just like you said, you can't blame it on the team. Nobody around him. There's an eye in boxing for a reason, because it's all about eye, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Dude, you come up with some good ones too.
That, champ.
I like
that, champ. Yeah, right. That's how. Yeah, that's how I knew I'd get along with you, my man. All right. All right. So
ultimately, it's his thing. One of the first interviews I did, we were talking about Andy Reese, how he went from having 90,000 followers on Instagram to going to like million or 2 million or 8 million. I don't know. Just after he beat Anthony Joshua, boom, he just exploded.
Right.
And this is what I told him, like, dude, there's so many things out there online, which everybody should be going online. If you were to private label some Alibaba gloves that you can get for $5, in Alibaba, and put a website saying, hey, he just became champion, buy my gloves, whatever. I use these gloves to beat Andy Reese. They cost him $5. He would have sold them for $49.99 to the 800,000 followers, 8 million followers that he got in one night. He could have gotten a pretty big $100,000, $200,000 money out of that. You think numbers. Because out of everybody knows that 30% of your followers are the ones that are going to engage with you. From that 30%, another 10% is actually going to be the ones, maybe putting some money in. From that 30%, they start summing down, right? So if you measure those numbers and you have 1 million followers, and only 30% are going to be engaging in you, that's 30,000. From those 30,000, only 10% are actually going to purchase your stuff, and you're selling $100 things. From those 3,000, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars if we look at numbers. But he has to get into this idea that online is where your future relies, and I think coronavirus accelerated that idea. It was happening. This of you talking this, everybody doing fitness online in schools, teachers doing schools on Zoom. This was going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years,
Right, yeah, you're right.
But coronavirus accelerated this. Now we're doing it. So this is more evidence that either you are part of the future, either you are part of the evolution of the future, or you're just going to be dragged by it, always falling behind,
Oh.
And kudos to you that you're doing this podcast, that you're doing this Zoom thing, because a lot of people that do podcasts for me, they do it on Instagram, Facebook, and those platforms, which are great. But in my opinion, doing it through Zoom gives you more ability of control, gives you more connection with the audience that you are actually communicating with. And at one point, people already see Instagram and Facebook mentally. It's a free thing. Nobody wants to pay anything related to that. Right. Once you go to outside sources like Zoom, this and that, then they're more bound to pay memberships, because it's something that is already known, that outside platforms from Instagram and Facebook, you can charge you, right? So it's very hard to find a community that pays on Instagram. However, doing it through Zoom gives you a little more chance.
You came out of the Canelo fight. They stopped it early. You were disappointed. Did that take, Canelo coming out of that fight, did it take some wind out of your sail for boxing?
Well, it kept weighing on the politics, aspects of it, especially since I wanted to be signed by a promotional company all my life. That is a mentality that we had in my era of coming out of the Olympics to get signed, right? And they never did it. So I learned to move along without being signed. So guys, it can happen. Don't think that you need to be signed. I was never signed by Golden Boy. I was never signed by Top Rank. I was never signed by PBC. I was never signed by any promotion. yet I was able to accomplish a lot in the boxing world without ever holding a contract with anybody.
School is in session. I hope you guys have really been listening, because you go through a career like that, you make a career like that without a promoter and as successful as he is. Man, champ.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming to the studio. But yeah, and so it can happen, you know. But it was so frustrating. It was so hard. When you say blood, sweat, tears, it was a lot of them. You know, I don't want to say it comes easier for the guys that are signed, because it does come easier, but it does come harder too. There's a lot more responsibilities. They did something right to get there, right? So everything is very hard. But for me, I always felt like I was on the behind. Then they did this fight with Canelo, and then that politics started to weigh even more and more, right? Then they did that Shawn Porter, which you were mentioning it, losing against Shawn Porter, who's there to win, majority decision. I already know I didn't lose that fight. It was so close. They could have given it to me if they really wanted to, but they didn't. They don't give a fuck about me. They gave a fuck about Shawn Porter. I'm sorry, can I even cuss in your show?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Majority decision loss. Oh my God, another heartbreaker. You just keep on getting your heart ripped right out of you. That champion's heart of yours keeps on getting just pulled right out, dude.
So they don't care about the older man, you know, they care about the younger cat. So I lose majority decision there. So it weighs more than Paredes. I beat this guy. They don't sign me. They don't protect me. They shelf me. I become a guy. They don't protect me. They shelf me. I just got so tired of that, because, you know, it's just hard to go against the current. And the thing is that I didn't have this type of ability that you guys have now. Social media has done wonders for the whole world, guys. Before before even to get exposure, it had to be on TV. And to be on TV, it cost a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, thousands that regular people didn't have. Only the big companies had those. So you had to go to the company to get that exposure.
Your last two fights, Ed Paredes and Kamaga, those are two tough fights too.
Very tough fighters, especially when these are fighters that were recently signed by Golden Boy. So you know they have the talent, they have the team, they have everything on their side now. They have the promotion, you know, they have the TV. So these are very capable fighters. And I reached out to Golden Boy and said, hey, you signed this Paredes guy. Let's do this, you know? And I beat it. I'm always thinking that I'm going to beat these guys to get signed, but let's look at the reality of it. I'm already at the age that nobody wants to sign a 40-year-old boxer, you know? So with that said, I really didn't like the fact that they have these stipulations. For example, I'm going to fight Paredes, who just got signed. So now they have a contract for me that is called an optional contract. That means if I beat your fighter who just signed, I cannot fight for anybody else but you, because I beat your fighter, right? You need to recuperate your money somehow, I'm sure. But what happens is that they shelf you. They don't want to fight you. You're an old fighter. You don't draw people. You don't do anything for my people. You just beat my people, as a matter of fact. You meet my guys. You don't do anything. It's not like I'm going to invest in you because you're older. So they shelve you. I can't fight for anybody a whole year. I can get money a whole year. I can do nothing a whole year. My contract ends. Now I'm a free agent again. You know, as I've always been. Guess who comes knocking on the door? Golden Boy. Hey, I just signed this guy. Come a guy. I'll fight him. Yeah. Option. Oh. All right. Fine. Option. And I'm signing this option thinking I'll beat this guy so I'll get signed. You know, but I didn't step out of myself and realize that you're 37 years old. It's not going to happen anymore. You know, they shouldn't try to feed off you constantly. I beat Kamagai. It was a great, beautiful fight. I displayed great boxing skills. And I actually, after Canelo, I started evolving my boxing to a new idea. And I displayed it on the Paredes fight. it became more evident in the Camel Guy fight. And if I would have evolved it more, right now I would have evolved that style of boxing. Math.
More math. Nice.
Math.
Okay.
For example, guys listening right now, when you see a fighter on the screen and he's throwing, let's say, 8 punches, and the other guy is able to avoid all those 8 punches, it's not that the other guy has great head movement or great defense. It's that the other guy has horrible offense. You know what that? So learn how to differentiate good defense to awful offense, right? So when this guy is throwing 8 punches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the other guy is able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what happens is that through sparring, through so many years, the trainers, through everything, assisting moving on a 1-2 world, 1, 2, 3 hook, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe jab, jab. That's the only one that doubles. But other than that, your combinations are always 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So your mind already knows that it's 1, 2, 1, 2. What it started to evolve, and you can see it in the Paredes fight and the Kamagai fight, is throwing 2 right hands rather than 2 jabs. So rather than 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, it was 1, 2, 2, right? What this does is it disrupts the sequences and the patterns that are already in the muscle memory of your opponent.
Defending, yeah, you're gonna go to the same side. You're gonna walk right into it.
You're gonna go to the same side. Yeah, exactly. Now you get it. I'm glad you get it. You're very smart, and hopefully your audience, the fighters looking at this, are getting it. Please go to my videos. I actually have videos of this on YouTube, El Gomez Boxing, on my Instagram, on my IGTV. There's videos about this, El Gomez Boxing, on Facebook, where I explain how you gotta stop. You really gotta stop the 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations, 1, 2, 3 combinations, and change it to the 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3. You gotta change the way the mind works on the combinations, and then you will disrupt your opponent because you'll be accustomed to it, and they're not, and that's already a natural upper hand in any fight. If you go in a fight already used to a different style than your opponent, you already automatically have 50% upper hand than your opponent. But if you go in dancing to the same tune as your opponent, the same tune that his partners dance to, that the previous guy did too, that his trainers do, and that the other guy does, because everybody just copies off each other, then you're gonna come in even. Always work at doing things differently, so at one point they become natural to you. So when you go up in that ring, that natural ability that you have will be so unnatural and awkward for your opponent that you automatically, without even trying, you're gonna have an upper hand as soon as you come in. Now, add that conditioning to it, add the agility, the speed, the power. Whew. But it starts right here with understanding that you're playing the same tune as your opponent, and you're purposely actually training from this point forward to feel natural in a different tune. Then the world is yours. So like I say, I was starting to display this new idea that I had of numbers and patterns, and it was evident in the Kamagai got fight. It was even more evident that I was able to evolve that. But again, I got shelled because of the options a whole year, and it came a point where I couldn't keep up with my finances. I had so many responsibilities. I mean, I got a divorce. It was so horrible that I had to make a decision whether I was going to continue with this option, beating fighters and being in an option, or actually step away from the game, from the politics, and do something else, basically. And that's what I did. It was a hard decision to do.
Sure.
And I stepped out. I tried to come back to it about a year ago with this new idea that the social media is a power now that we fighters have.
Right.
But so many things, so many responsibilities, so many things to do, the business, that I don't have the ability to focus on something, especially at my age, something so dangerous as boxing. that all I can do now is pass all my knowledge through the system, through the videos, through the YouTubes, and just keep working at what I'm doing now, which is even more fulfilling than being champion. Let me tell you.
Questions about, out of all these great fighters that you fought, who punched the hardest? Who had the heaviest hands?
One of the heaviest hands, I mean, for me was Farace. Farace, for some reason, hit so freaking hard, especially with his jab. Miguel Cotto, he hit very hard, but more than hard, you know what, with Cotto? He was super precise. Because Canelo hits hard, you know, but he hits here, he hits here, he hits here. He hits wherever the fuck he lands. He just hits hard. Cotto, though, he would hit right at the button, you know? Oh, like buckle, right at the spot. Oh, the liver. He was very, very precise with his power, with his punches, which made him a very powerful opponent. So yeah, him, very hard puncher. Caraz, Canelo had power too, but it wasn't his hands though. Because when I think about power, I think about natural power, the ones that barely touch you, and you're like, what the hell? What the hell is that? Is there bricks in your hand? It's just people that have that type of hand. Yep. Caraz was one of them, and Cotto has those bricks in his hand. Canelo doesn't have brick on his hand, yet he uses all his force, all his energy, all his core to put that power in it, and you know it works for him very well.
So, what would you rather have, that world title that you just so got so close to, or actually fighting Junior?
Was that Chavez Jr.?
Yeah.
What would I rather have? I don't know. Maybe the title is better. Fighting Junior means nothing. As a matter of fact, I mean, no, it doesn't mean nothing. If anything, if I do come back to boxing, because I've been asked, are you going to come back? Like, honestly, I'm not going to come back to boxing. At least not right now. I don't have that perspective to come back and be like, oh, I'm going to come back to come at the rankings and try to go for that title again. It's not my mentality right now. Right. But I do have hunger, one, to step in the ring again. It's nice to know that I'm going to be in the ring possibly. Also, I have so many fans, so many people that still want to see me fight. Why not give him a good fight?
Did you say possibly you may be getting back in the ring?
Yeah, that's an idea that still lingers in my head. You know, and I'm sure every fighter that retires lingers in the back of the head.
Right.
But if I do come back, it will not be to be subject to the system. Right. Meaning coming back and fighting a big name so they can use me, and potentially I'll get a title fight. Now, if I do come back to fight,
you're the big name.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Anyway, if I do come back, it'll be something more of a. I'll fight, you know, someone like Omar Chavez, who has a big name, right? But he's not that good. He sucks. I'm not gonna get injured. He's not gonna get injured because that's not the idea. Right. It'll be something where we both can get back in the ring. It'll be something where I'm sure we can play it enough, and market it enough the right way, that we can fill up a good arena in Mexico. You know, maybe his brother can fight on the headline, whatever it is. There's a lot of things going on there. I can give the fans a great fight. I can get back in the ring. Can get a good payday. That's it. That's the type of idea of me coming back to the ring is, you know, where we have control, where we determine what we want, how we want it. Let's have fun. Let's have joy. Let's let's talk to Mauricio, make up some bullshit WBC belt. Let's go, baby. Yeah. Let's go. But actually coming back and having to go through the rankings, you have to fight these top 10 first, these young lion, you know, so maybe tomorrow you'll fight, no, that's not my take right now. However, if going through that route, you know, like doing that little thing, then they say, hey, you want to fight for a championship straight up? Like, yeah, well, let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Why not?
This mentality is that one of an independent boxer, which is a terminology that I started to bring up to fruition, starting to bring up to light to a lot of fighters out there, called independent boxer. What is independent boxer? It's like an artist. At one point, artists, the only way they can get their music exposed, their talent exposed, their get paid, was if they were owned by a by record label, right? So you had to go through the system as an artist before, as a musician. Then online internet came, boom. Now we have independent artists, where you don't need to be in a label. You can have control of your career. You can have most of the monetary profits. You can have this and that. You can still have a lot of followers. You're not going to be J Balvin. You're not going to be on MTV. That's all right. You don't give a care, right? You're getting 100% of the profit, not 5%. So there's two different type of artists. There's those artists that are signed by the big companies that are getting 5% of their paycheck, that they control their creativity, they control their image, yet they're on top. Good, getting millions, awesome. It's whatever your flavor is. Now, they're this type of artists on this side. They're independent artists. They're full control. They own all their money, blah, blah, blah. Cool, cool, cool. They're both happy. Everybody beautiful. Now let's go back to boxing. At one point, yes, before social media, you had to go to Golden Boy. You had to go to the record labels, in this case, the promotional companies, in order to be exposed on TV, to get your money, blah, 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 blah. Thank God, guys, that we live in this era now, because this era is a rise of the independent boxer. What that means is that in no time, guys, whether it's me, whether it's already a famous boxer, which I believe is going to happen through a big famous boxer who's going to go independent and is going to give way to this big new idea, independent boxer, where we don't have to depend so much, where we have control over our careers, over who we fight, over what we do. We might not be on the big Netflix events, right? But at least we're not getting 5% of the profits, and we're not being controlled on who we fight and when we fight. We fight who we want to. We get what we want to, and we do what we want to. We're all happy. We're all exposing our talents. We're all paying our families. We're all paying our bills. This is the era of the independent boxer, my friends. Take this into account, and you will remember this day when I told you so.
Boom, 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 boom. More gold for the champ, man. I love it, man.
Whenever you look at an opponent's chest, hands, feet, this and that, you are always going to play catch up, because the movement comes after you see it, because you see it after the movement comes out, right? So if I'm going to punch and I'm looking at your arms, my reaction is going to happen after your movement initiates, right? So you're always going to play catch up. When you look at an opponent's eyes, you can see the punch before it happens. So you either see it after or you see it before. When you see it before, you're able to create better defense than when you see it after. Because when you see it after, you're playing catch up. It's psychology, when somebody thinks something, when somebody's going to do something, their eyes reveal it to you, So guys, if you don't believe me, that's fine. I want you to, next time when you're sparring or when you're doing something with somebody else, put it into practice. Just stare at their eyes. Just be like staring at their eyes. And you're going to realize that right before they punch, they're going to be telling you with their eyes that I'm going to punch. Which punch is going to be? I don't know. See that requires magic. See that I'm not that smart. That requires magic,
right?
It doesn't require magic. It requires patterns and sequences.
If he's going to do math, not magic, right?
There you go. I do math, exactly. So they do tell you when they're going to punch you. Now, if you measure that in previous encounters, in exchanges with this guy, and you realize that he always throws the jab first, then when he's going to tell you, I'm going to throw, you're pretty sure he's going to throw that jab again. Right. But at least you know it's happening before it's happening. So put it into practice, guys. Look at the eyes of the opponent. Don't look at anything else. Don't look at the hands. Even if he does this, just look at him. Even if he does this, always look at the eyes. He is very rarely going to get you. Guaranteed. Being champion, being famous, being on TV is very, very fulfilling, And this is something I say constantly. But if I have to put it in words, it's so good and so fulfilling, but it still feels external, I feel like I can reach for things like championships. Yeah, I can reach for them, and it feels reachable and it feels fulfilling on the outside. But after I retired, I decided to put my knowledge, my boxing knowledge, everything that I've learned in 30 years, which is fitness, nutrition, therapy, motivation, mentality, psychology. All these things are required. If you're going to be an athlete, a boxer, you're going to be roaming in the elite levels, you better be strong on your mind, on your nutrition, on your physical self, on your spiritual self. Like, you got to be a strong individual. So when I retired, I started putting my knowledge into practice, helping people that needed it, and mainly people that had illnesses like cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure. So what I started to do is I started training these people in nutrition and the exercise, and losing the weight, trying to be there for them, give them that hope. I mean, I don't want to say things because people get mad, but I'm gonna say, yeah. For example, one of the clients, the doctor later told her she only had a few months expectancy to live, right? To go home and prepare the will, blah 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 blah. And she had some kind of thing in her head, right? Cancerous thing. So I told her, look, there's always these doctors are telling you this, but in my mind, the doctor of doctors over there, he has the last word, right? So either you're going to believe one or believe the other one. And what I can tell you is that the doctor of the doctor says that hope is the last thing to die. Don't say, oh, you're going to die. Prepare to die. Guess what's going to happen? You are going to die. If somebody tells you you're going to die, and you mentally, they tell you prepare to die, and you're actually preparing to die. Think about those words. Go home and prepare to die. Okay. Yeah. Right. So what happened is that that's how I initiated this program. Somehow through the knowledge that God, boxing, my brothers, through the downslopes of my life were able to give me, we were able, I say we because it was a whole collection of things. We were able to, I don't like to individualize myself in things. I hate it when I say I always like to say collectively we, meaning God, the experiences, my brothers, everything. We were able to help her surpass this moment of her. She went back to the doctor and I was like, what did you do? It's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, right now I'm dedicating my life and my time, utilizing all the knowledge that I got in order to help people in those circumstances. Yes, I have members who just want to lose weight. This for everybody, but I also have members who have high blood pressure, who have diabetes, and we put them into this program of nutrition, making them feel better, all this stuff. Now, let me tell you, the fulfillment of that, it comes from the inside. And I have to tell you, it's way, way more fulfilling than winning championships. Not that winning championships, not badass. Right there, it's very good, and I love it. Wow. But those are reachable. Those seem to be like reachable. I can get them with my mind. But the other fulfilling that I get from the inside, that doesn't seem to be reachable on the outside. It's like you have to somehow transform who you are in order to achieve that inner fulfillment. Because ego has to go away. So much negativity has to be away from you. So much acceptance you have to have for other things and other people. It's like you really have to transform yourself so you can actually have this fulfilling feeling that you get from the inside. Because before I didn't have it. I was like everybody else. I wanted money. I wanted glory. I wanted fame. I wanted the girls, which was awesome. But but I can already tell you by having both that this one is the one, and I'm so happy, so blessed to have this opportunity. Getting everybody into the program, fitness. It's a wave, we need to. There's a lot of people that just don't like to go to gyms. They need to have access to something for them to work out. There's people that just can't. They're ill or whatever. They live far away from a gym. Not only that, come on, America. you guys are so into like time management that now you get your food ordered, like your
right. Everything has to be now. Dude,
now.
I gotta get going. I gotta go.
You can save 30 minutes by signing on to One Healthy Athlete and training from home. You can have it now. Unless you go there to gossip and chit chat, then this is not for you. This is only for those who mean to be healthy, strong. One Healthy Athlete.
One Healthy Athlete. I love it, Champ, man. I love it, man. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Champ. We're definitely going to get together soon. That chat was awesome going through your career. But I'll hit you up again soon. And until then, man, you dream big, live large, and love life. And the chat was great. We're definitely going to be friends now, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, definitely be friends, follow each other, share our content. I'm going to share yours. You can share mine. Everything's about being a community of support. Other boxers out there, you know, I'm trying to give you as much information as I can. In this episode, there will be more episodes. And please follow me at El Gomez Boxing, even on TikTok, all those social media, because I'm constantly helping people try to be the best version of themselves and as happy as possible. And like always, my friend, God bless America. You can't play boxing.